I've honestly tried to start this video about 3 times now, and I don't even know where to begin, because so often when I tell people my story and my stories and my experiences in this incarnation, they say, Tamsin, what are you doing? You need to write a book. You need to tell more people about this, so that way you can gain whatever it is that you need to from what I'm going to tell you. So whether that be encouragement, fate, faith, compassion, conviction, drive, whatever it is that you gain as a reflection from me opening up about these personal stories of mine, I hope that you do. And I've got little notes here, so I'll start at the top. I was born in Larrakia country. I was born in the Northern Territory at the top of Australia, and I have this beautiful little photo here prepared earlier. This little shed in the bush is where I was born, where I lived as a child. And that is something that I absolutely am so respectful of, grateful for, and just in honor and awe of. For example, my mum was conceived through the help of the beautiful sisters and aunties and their sacred knowledge and wisdom of bush plant medicine and the cycles that allowed me to be conceived. So that is how I was birthed into this realm. The next point I want to move into, and I'm moving through quick. I have a podcast on my Patreon if you want to listen to it that goes into more detail. I did it a few months ago, but next one is mum and my dad divorced, and mum moved to the Central Coast. That is where she met an Italian man who she married, and he adopted me and my older sister. And now he was part of the Italian mafia. And I won't say too much more in that regard. I can now, it's been years later, but I was in police protection when mum divorced this man for years and years and years. The things that I witnessed and saw, I will not say out loud because I did not see as a child. And it was just very colourful to experience at such a young age. And that I will go into in more detail, say 20 years time when I feel it's safe to talk about it, to be completely honest with you. But that was hectic. But a good side of this Italian man's influence was I have incredible work drive and a fantastic taste in music, if I do say so myself, because he had an incredible assortment of records and CDs, and he taught me rhythm, he taught me rhyme, he taught me how to dance, and of course he's an Italian, so he loved his music. I'm grateful for that. Secondly, where we actually lived as a child with this man was a beautiful house, beautiful 6-bedroom, multi-million-dollar. He was in the mafia, so you could imagine. But it was right on the mountain of, in Australia, there are Egyptian hieroglyphics. And if you're an Australian, they're either rarely spoken about, you don't know about them, or if you're in the area, they're just some hoax, which is insane. Like actually insane. Right opposite where these hieroglyphs, these Egyptian hieroglyphs that are old dynasty of 2 brothers that came over here. One brother who got bitten by a snake, his tomb is there, he's buried there. This was right on the mountain that I grew up on. So I explored all through these sandstone cliffs and caves and found beautiful shell middens of the indigenous of the area and felt the wisdom and the knowledge. There's Phoenician tombs up and through that whole area. There are 4,600-year-old dated by Sydney University star maps carved into rock platforms kilometers away from these tombs. So honestly, Australian history, if you want to call it Australia, is so deep. And where I grew up there was so sacred. And I explored all through this area. I even went into the stairwell that went into the tomb with an older neighbor of mine. And this is when I was a kid. I was like 8 years old. So it's incredible. I also saw lots of UFOs. I saw lots of UFOs in the bush, lots of aliens, lots of lights, lots of hovercrafts, all in and around this area. So that's just now that society and the collective consciousness is accepting, aware, understanding, and just actually speaking on the truth, our ancient truths, this feels safer to speak into. And this is definitely something I experienced so much of when I was a kid in and around that area. Moving forward. Mum then divorced this Italian man, and we were put into police protection to leave. So in leaving him, Mum had to flee and we lost everything. So we went from living in a 6-bedroom house, beautiful, like multi-million-dollar house, to we lost everything. He changed the locks overnight. So we lost everything, photographs, toys, clothes, everything. And we were homeless. We lived in a tent for months and months and months. I lived with friends wherever I could. I slept on train benches. I lived illegally in army barracks in Queensland. I stayed with girlfriends as if I was their sister. You know who you are. And that was a really, really full-on period of my life. I starved. I froze. I survived and thrived is what I did. But that was something else that I went through, and it was a lot. It was a lot. And then that leads me to, in memory of my dad's birthday, who was yesterday. His birthday would have been 60, I believe, yesterday. But my father, when he and my mum divorced in Darwin, I never saw him again. And I went to meet him. I finally found out, hey, you're adopted. I didn't know I was adopted. So until I was 14, I had no clue. And then I found out. I was like, why do I have blue eyes, blonde hair? Why do I look like this? And I found out I was adopted. And so when I contacted my older sister to track down my father, my blood father, I was due to meet him. And 2 weeks before I got to meet him, he, unfortunate or fortunate, however you just surrender into the sweet tales of souls, incarnations, playing out embodiments of karmic cycles and love and grief and all these beautiful things. Unfortunately, my father was murdered, so I wasn't able to meet him. And that happened when I was 14. So I am 28 years old now, and I have a beautiful relationship with my father. He's not gone. Energy does not die. I feel him here constantly. I love and feel his presence. So obvious within my DNA, within myself, and within my auric energy field out here on the land. So just in memory of him, I never speak on that, and everyone always gets choked up when I speak on it. So I wanted to actually just talk into that, because my relationship with grief and understanding that grief is the very evidence that love is the whole fucking point is something that I need to speak more into, because I know I can support a lot of people in that power that I have found. Lastly, before the dogs go crazy, that brings me to where I am now. So I then moved to the city. I studied everything I thought society indoctrinated me to think would make me happy. So I studied fashion. I went to a fashion school. I moved to Melbourne. I did these jobs. I got this all this external shit, an Art Deco apartment, and it all looked the part. And I was a soulless human. I felt like an egg of a human. And every day I just, the more I went down that cookie cutter mold of what society was forcing me and indoctrinating me and making me feel like I needed to do, I removed my victimhood and actually said, fuck no, this isn't how I want to live my life. I'm taking life by the balls. And I moved out into the middle of this beautiful sacred bush that I manifested. I manifested when I lived in the city and realized this and woke up fully. I would lay in the bathtub and envision trees breathing. And now here I am immersed in 250 acres that I bought cash at 26 years old. And in this day and age, having, not that you can ever own land, but having somewhere I can call home out here on the country, and where I am right now is sacred Gringai land. And this is the Gringai clan of the Wurundjeri Nation, right here, immersed in the foothill of these ancient hills, is something that I am so honored and grateful every single day. And that leads me to where I am. So there's some facts. I've fit that in 10 minutes that I'm really happy about. I hope that you can gain whatever it is that you need to, feel to, wish to gain from this. And I just wanted to speak truthfully, rawly, and really into the space, because Instagram online isn't real. It's a powerful tool where you can advocate and share beautiful messages and transmissions and expressions. But there's a lot more in-depth layers to these beautiful artistic expressions that are the soul's embodiments, baby.